Alright, we just launched the most powerful cards ever in Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, how do we follow it up, team? We print impactful cards to the meta! Create a ban list in a few months after printing the most profitable set. Put an archetype that can compete against the meta that people could buy. I'm in trouble. Welcome to Fixing Yu-Gi-Oh!, where we fix all of Yu-Gi-Oh!'s many problems by using the power of hindsight and game design. I'm your host, Prunk, and I like fairies. In fact, this set is very misleading because the fairies are minimal and bad. So, this set is really more of a lore pack. It's about the mighty warrior Zera and how his fall to darkness brought out his deepest strength. Accompanied by the agents, the mighty fairy warriors of the heavens, does he fall to darkness or does he rise to those heavens? Mizera Devel is one of our secrets in this set, which compared to CED, he's not really competing anytime soon. End of Anubis is a cool card, but not he doesn't actually do anything. His effect is kind of misleading because you would think that he would stop chaoses from being able to get summoned, but he doesn't. He just stops graveyard effects from activating in the graveyard. Kind of like a Necro Valley in a way. Agents are horrible now, but definitely become viable, although not really meta defining, which is fine. They're a fun deck and they work, and there's some fun synchro stuff to do in the future. And even when like XYZs were coming out, they're a fine deck. They're fine. But I kind of want to look at some of the agents that never really got to see play. And what's in those sarcophagus? Surely it's a creature of unimaginable power that can combat the Chaos Emperor Dragon threat when it takes 4 turns to summon a card in a format that MST is at 3. Spellmaster Mace was printed. Did you know this guy had support cards? Milky, bruh. Alright, look, this set is known to be one of the worst follow-up sets in Yu-Gi-Oh! Ever. Zaborg the Monarch is basically the only good card printed in this set. So let's go over these guys and doing the fixing thing that you guys want me to do. In fact, I bet you like it so much that you are currently subscribed and watching this. So help me out, subscribe and follow along and like and comment and do the YouTube stuff. But until then, let's just start and hopefully make good content that you guys will want to watch. But I wouldn't hold your breath because I am pretty new at this. So let's look at Mizera Deville. I think it is fine as it kind of tells a story about fallen angels, but then the end of Anubis doesn't even counter the big problem that Chaos has. So I think we're going to go for the fallen angels and angels to be like the secrets of this set. So Archlord Zerato and Mizera Deville, they are coincidentally light and dark, which does kind of add to the Chaos follow-up, but here's my pitch. Both of these guys require their field spells to be summoned, which is fine, but they need Zera, which is a non-searchable vanilla monster. He's 16/16. Like, Konami, come on. You just printed out CED and you're scared that this card might be too good? His flavor text tells a story. A wandering hero who seeks the sanctuary where he can gain power to the archlords, to escape the temptations of evil fiends. He fights solo day by day. You're already telling us that this guy's either going to be dark or light. How do we get to him? I get that he's flying solo, but, 16/16? Seriously? Warrior Zera is now 15/15, which means now he can be summoned with Giant Rat and searched by Witch and Sangan. He is also a warrior, so he is a Rhoda target. So now we have a staple card of the deck that is very accessible to pair with one of these two boss monsters, or even both. I mean, do we go for the evil, or do we go for the heavens? Well, that's kind of up to you and what kind of deck you would rather play. Mizera Deville is actually a pretty fine card. The only thing I would change is the name to include Archfiend, just so he does kind of fit into that theme a little bit more. He doesn't actually get the Archfiend effects that we've shown previously, but having that name allows some better synergy stuff later on in the future, so I would probably go with that. The problem with him was more really on Zera, which he just wasn't searchable, so having this card was very difficult to actually pull off. But now that he's so searchable, he's at least like you can actually make a solid deck out of this just right off the bat just by making him a 15/15. We didn't have to change much, but this was really cool. Now we got this boss monster that can come out of almost nowhere if you're playing Pandemonium. Like, you have to have the setup. Normal summon, Zera. Hopefully, if you don't have any traps or removal, and I have Pandemonium on the field, you better fear that your hand is going to start getting some removal out, because that discard 3 for this card coming on the field is crazy strong. And it's arguably stronger than the other guy, Archlord Zerato. But let's take a look at him then. So this card can be normal summoned or set. This card can not be special summoned except by tributing one face-up warrior Zera from your side of the field while Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field. This is similar to the Pandemonium effect with Misera Deville. That's all completely fine, and I want to keep it. If the Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field, by discarding one light monster from your hand or graveyard, destroy all monsters on your opponent's side of the field. If Sanctuary is not on the field, the effect doesn't matter. So the special summon condition is fine. The discarding effect is definitely horrible, as like discarding a light monster effect, Misera doesn't have a cost, so why should this guy have to? I mean, Misera does get his pretty broken effect on summon, so I think that Zerato should have it too. So my pitch: if Sanctuary of Sky is on the field, destroy all monsters on your opponent's side of the field. There you go. It is now a Raigeki on legs, and it has to meet two conditions. One is the field spell has to be on the field, and two is Zera needs to be tributed from your side of the field. It's balanced. Like, the line of power, it does match with the line of power of special summoning some of these bigger monsters that the game is kind of going towards. And the conditions are pretty easy, but not so easy where you're going to have it all the time, every moment. The only thing that really stops this card, I think, from being meta play if we're doing that, is just Zera's an Earth monster, which doesn't allow him to get squeezed into the Chaos meta that is currently forming. But I think it's fine, and I would probably still play this with my Fairy deck. Like, I think just having a nuke on legs is pretty strong. I'm probably playing Sanctuary in the Sky anyways. Pandemonium is, if I'm playing Archfiends, then I would definitely be throwing this guy in because it's such a good card. And now that he's searchable with like all these recruiters, I think it's good. I'm pretty happy with that. So that makes me want to talk about the agents. Agent Venus is the only good one in my opinion, at least at these early stages. Keep in mind, like there's a few of them that aren't really out that are really good. That tuner is really good. I can't think of her name offhand. But so far, we really just have a few agent selection right now. Life point generation is pretty horrible at this stage, and we've attempted to fix some of that with some of these other cards, but overall, we're probably still not playing a lot of life point generation at this early stage. I'm waiting for Euro Mages. Those are super fun, but we're probably going to need something a little bit better in the future. Now, that doesn't mean that we can give up on the life point generating stuff. There's still some good things that we can do with these to have those kind of effects. Agent Venus isn't really that good until XYZs come out, but we are going to leave this one untouched. And let's kind of look at like Agent Mars. So Agent Mars, he gains stats based on the positive difference in life points, meaning that you are when you're ahead, you need to be ahead to summon this guy to have any kind of stat points whatsoever. But agents don't have that support just yet. Saturn has a really similar effect. We can tribute her off to close out a game with when you have like such a high life points difference, but you basically have to be ahead in order to win. My pitch is this: Agent Mars, 15,000. Whenever you gain life points while this card is on the field, special summon as many mystical balls from your deck or graveyard. So this is similar to Venus, but it's not an ignition effect, and it can be a bit worse because you need to play something that's going to generate life points to get his effect onto the field. But the nice thing is, it only takes one life point card to gain 3 extra cards on the field. But with these mystical balls, well, what do we do with them? Well, you gobble them up. Well, not like that, perverts. So let's just talk about Jupiter. He's got a pretty unique effect, banish an agent to give 800 attack. But the discard to special summon an agent is really where the strength of this guy works. So you banish a card, and give an agent strength, and then you're able to basically special summon another agent on the field. So it's pretty cool. And we're filling up the graveyard with like these shiny balls, but we don't really have much to do with them. So Jupiter, while you control shiny ball, you may special summon this card from your hand or graveyard. Once per turn, you contribute a shiny ball you control to special summon an agent from your banish zone. This gives the balls more use and requires them to be played with agents. The banish zone, why? Well, Master Hyperion, in the future, he supports this kind of play, and being able to banish agents to special summon Hyperion is really important later on. So we're still kind of fitting into that theme where the deck won't change much in the future. I do have a rework for our Guardian Angel Joan, who did come out in Invasion of Chaos. So here's my work with her. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned by your hand by banishing 2 light monsters from your graveyard. When this card destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, gain life points equal to the original attack of the destroyed monster. She keeps her OG effect, but now has the ability to be special summoned, and similar to those other cards in Invasion of Chaos, this just gives us that life point generation that we could use for some of those other agents, making cards like Saturn much better as you can generate life points much easier. So these kind of changes, we gave really big importance to the shiny magical balls, and I would actually make those balls supers now to kind of show the importance. So Konami, you can make a little bit more money on your balls. And come on, shiny balls. Why was this card not hollow in the first place? How mature are you guys, Konami? That's crap. You should know your audience. Agents now, I think, would in these early stages still play like Sanctuary in the Sky, and that way you have your board wipes for those big cards. So like I think now agents would have some really high kill potential, and you can kind of synergize a lot of them onto the field with these shine balls now, which is kind of cool. I'd probably play Azera because Sanctuary in the Sky is pretty good, and especially if I'm playing a bunch of these low vanilla monsters. So I like a lot of this, and this set does a lot more. I would add one more condition to a lot of these agents because they do have some secondary effects when there is Sanctuary in the Sky in the field. So you could throw something along the lines of when Sanctuary Sky is in the field and when another agent is destroyed, gain 500 life points. It's not a lot, but it does give support to a few things. It counters Venus, like the life point generating stuff. It does support the new version of Mars, and it gives life point generation within the archetype, which if you're playing angels and fairies, I think life point gaining stuff is pretty important, and I would like that. So, what do you think? Are agents better? Worse? Will you play Zera in a deck with agents or archfiends? I think this overall supports people playing more lights, which you can splash in BLS and CED into your deck now because honestly, that's just the meta right now. So if you're playing your Witch and Sangin, then those are your banished targets, and there's probably a few other things you can slide in, like Knight Assailant. But right now, I consider agents fixed. They are a pretty cool type, so I don't want to mess with them too much. But some of these other agents that nobody really played, even in agent decks, I think are a lot better, and we'll finally get to see some play. Spirit of the Pharaoh. So when people talk about worst boss monsters of all time, Spirit of the Pharaoh is right there with Gate Guardians, Valkyrion, the Magnet Warrior, and Great Moth. So we fixed two of them, and now we gotta work on Spirit of the Pharaoh. This card reads, this card cannot be normal or summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned, except by the effect of First Sarcophagus. When this card is special summoned, you can special summon up to 4 level 2 or lower zombie normal monsters from your graveyard. Whew! So at this stage of the game, we actually have like 3-4 zombies. Skull Servant, 2 new level 2 zombies, Pharaoh Servant and Pharaonic Protector, and this Nightmare Fuel Clown zombie thing that is still haunting me. So this boss lets you spam level 2 zombies after 3 turns of dodging basic spell removal. And yeah, okay, this is going to probably have to get some kind of similar rework to like what we did with Destiny board. So OG First Sarcophagus says, during each of your opponent's end phases, place 1 card face up on your side of the field from your hand or deck in this order. Second Sarcophagus, third Sarcophagus. If 1 Sarcophagus card is removed from your side of the field, all of them are sent to the graveyard. When you have all 3 Sarcophagus cards on your side of the field, send all the Sarcophagus cards from your side of the field to the graveyard to special summon 1 Spirit of Pharaoh from your hand or deck. Here's my fix. This card cannot be removed from the field besides its own effect. During each of your opponent's end phases, send from your hand or deck to the graveyard in this order. The second Sarcophagus, the third Sarcophagus. During your opponent's next end phase, banish this card and special summon Spirit of the Pharaoh from your deck or graveyard. So I probably could have worded it a little bit better, but basically you have to still get the 3 Sarcophagus to basically bring out this guy. But now those other cards are in your graveyard, so you only really need to protect this 1 card, which isn't hard because its own effect protects it. It is a future fusion, basically, that's going to come out, and you're going to get this 2500 attack zombie guy that's going to be able to spam the field with a bunch of lobies. So you can kind of prepare, hey, when this guy comes onto the field, we got to do something, because otherwise it might be pretty bad if he's spamming a bunch of all these low zombie guys. Now, to add some extra protection, I think these Sarcophagus cards should just straight up say, whenever a face-up Pharaoh monster would be destroyed, you may banish this card from your graveyard instead. Funny enough, there are no other Pharaoh cards in the game, but we still can add this so that way we have some options in the future, because, special summoning bad zombies will always be meta. And just being able to kind of spam out some like normal stuff, I feel like this could be kind of used in the cool Exodia deck. And because you're basically being able to spam out a couple bunch of zombies every turn, if you're playing like card of safe return, then you're drawing a lot of stuff constantly, which is really cool. And there's some normal support stuff. There's the backup soldier. So sending a bunch of stuff to the graveyard with this. Painful Choice is still out at this point, which again I don't think should have ever been printed, but it's available. I think this is how you kind of fix this card. It's telling the card is going to come out. Your opponent knows it's going to come out. They just need to really prepare themselves for when it does, because they have to basically out this card 3 times. And I think at that point, it's a cool boss monster that does have its own built-in protection. Yeah, Compulsory came out in Invasion of Chaos, so this card is definitely becoming a lot better. And it only protects it from being destroyed, so bouncing it still works. Banishing from Chaos Orc and BLS, so there's plenty of ways to out this card that doesn't make it too busted. But anyway, there's one more card that I think we need to kind of go from here, and it's a full rework because the actual effect is pretty horrible. Blessing of the Nile. I feel like this card could fit our Pharaoh theme. So my new fix for this is whenever a zombie monster is special summoned from the graveyard, gain 1,000 life points. Once per turn, you contribute up to 2 zombie monsters on the field, inflict 500 direct damage for each monster tributed. Okay, this deck just got a lot scarier. So now this deck has some protection. It has special summoning spam, and now we are going to add some burn potential into this to give some use of those zombies that are constantly being brought back. Is it really going to compete with CED? No. No, not in the slightest. But does it make a really fun and interesting gimmick deck for people to fool around with? Yeah. Low-level zombie spam, burn, like, that's pretty interesting. Oh, and we got this other card. This looks pretty cool, but it's, again, a useless card. Desert Sunlight. I mean, let's just make it a search. I think this card could be a searcher, so let's play with this. Search your deck for first Sarcophagus or a level 2 normal zombie monster. You're entering into this tomb for the first time, so you're going to see a Sarcophagus, or you might see some zombies right off the bat. We could say level 2 or lower to give Skull Servants some support, and you know what? Sure. Level 2 or lower. Let's see if this card gets some play. Skull Servants are a pretty cool deck as well. They don't really get their thing out yet, but they will in the future, and I don't see anything wrong with that. To kind of stick around with this like Desert Oasis theme, Emissary of the Oasis, so far we're getting a lot of bad cards for low-level normal monsters, which I can appreciate, but so far they all do nothing. So this card just makes battle damage become 0 to low-B monsters, but doesn't really push any kind of advantage, so here's my pitch for that. While this card is on the field, you control a level 3 or normal lower monster, your opponent cannot choose this card as an attack. Once per turn, you contribute 1 normal monster onto the field to destroy 1 face-up card your opponent controls. Ooh! Now we're giving these shiny balls and level 2 zombies some purpose other than just stats, like a stat line. That's pretty cool. This thing also gives like Spirit Caller some more purpose. A lot of this has been fixed, and it just brings out an interesting idea that an archetype could be available at this point. Legacy Hunter. This homie is like 100% Don Zalug's doppelganger. I mean, he's got different clothing for sure, but I'm just going to say change his outfit and make it another Dark Scorpion card. So my pitch for this would just be when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, return 1 random card from their hand to their deck. The deck is then shuffled. Number 2 effect, send the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck to the graveyard. Its OG effect is okay, but adding something to an archetype to keep like giving them support I think is always important. This card can fit into the build. He's got an okay but and a 1k stat line, so like you summon him on an open field, he's still not that strong, and he would probably be one of the better Dark Scorpions. Although similar to Don Zalug, he's not removing the card, he's just putting it back into their deck, so sometimes discarding can actually be worse because you're putting in chaos, like stuff into the graveyard for chaos. So it's kind of like Forceful Sentry, why that card is better than Confiscation, because it shuffles it into the deck instead of sending it to the graveyard. So you don't have to deal with that if it is a dark or light monster. I mean, that basically wraps up Ancient Sanctuary. It doesn't do much with like OG, but we gave some light some support. Agents can see play early on, and we also created a gimmick deck, which is a bit cool for the future. A lot of these are normal monster support cards, is also kind of giving like Ojamas some love, even though we haven't really brought them up yet, but we definitely will get to those guys. So, like, subscribe, do the YouTube things, and, oh, okay, though, there's more. All right, well, let me check to make sure people are subscribed first. Ah, you did, you handsome devil, you. All right, well, here's a few bonuses then. Sealmaster. Hey, another low vanilla guy. Okay, So first things first, we gave a bunch of level 2 support. So we're going to need to nerf him to be a level 2, I think. So just nerf his stat line. He's not there to deal damage. He is there to kind of get these other effects. So he has 2 support cards, which is Talisman of the Spell and Talisman of Spell Sealing and Talisman of Trap Sealing. Basically, if you have spell on the field, he negates traps. If you have traps on the field, it negates spells. And they're protecting this vanilla guy on the field to do nothing. Basically, if this guy leaves those fields, so do those continuous cards. So I don't really understand why we're trying to play this, because this guy's not winning me the game anyways. So let's buff stall. Here's my pitch for to make this an actual deck theme that we can kind of get you behind, and some players could probably pull it off pretty well, I think. I don't think it needs to be a full burn stall, but this is what I got. So, Protector of Meisei. This is my custom card. 500, 2500 defense that reads, cannot be normal summon or spec. By banishing must be special summoned from your hand by banishing a trap and spell from your graveyard. Hey, we just created 2 talisman cards. Alright. While this card is on the field, your opponent cannot target Sealmaster for attacks. During each of your standby phases, each player takes 500 direct damage. So it is putting us on a little bit of a clock, and I am stopping you from... If I'm getting my full combo, that means that I have trap negation, I have spell negation, I have this wall that protects this guy, and it's a pretty strong 4-card combo if I get the full thing. But I have to get to the full thing because a lot of these cards are pretty bad on their own. Like, literally 9 cards are reliant on each other. So I have no idea how you would build this deck whatsoever, but you could probably play it stall burn in some sense and have this really stun locky, just horrible floodgate deck that I would never want to see in my life. But it is an option. It's a gimmick deck, and although it's not probably going to be that good and it can break really easily, hey, after editing Prunk, I got it cut off in my own video, which is frustrating. We're talking about the Seal guy, and yeah, he's gotten a purpose now in our decks. I think he does get played in our like spell books, and you can kind of splice in some stuff that way to play more Stunlock. But overall, I'm happy with the fix this guy got. So that is going to wrap up this episode of Ancient Sanctuary. Did you like the changes? Did you hate the changes? Do you want me to just fall off a cliff and stop making these? Do you love me and want me to make more? Do you think I'm pretty? Sometimes I just want compliments in the comments, guys. One of you guys are being really mean and it hurts my feelings and I cry a lot. So have a good one, guys. Take care. Like and subscribe. Do the YouTube stuff. Peace out.